up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1036 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. StickerU.com. Create custom stickers, labels, tattoos, and decals for your home and your business. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Ridley Funeral Home. Pillars of the community since 1921. And Canna Cabana. The lowest prices on cannabis. Guaranteed. Over 100 stores across the country. Learn more at cannacabana.com. Joining me this week, live in the TMDS studio, is Jason Portuondo.
Wow.
What do you think of that, buddy?
I feel like a prize boxer entering the ring. I appreciate
Let's
that.
get ready for real talk.
I love it. I love it.
Now, this is not technically, we have to be pedantic here, not technically your Toronto Mike debut.
Right.
Because you were a part of episode 1002, but you were sharing that episode with a one-time fastest man in the world and double gold medalist. So I would say that's Donovan Bailey's episode more than it's Jason Portuondo's episode.
I'm fine with that. You know, anytime you can rub shoulders, hang, and just be alongside a living legend, I'm fine with it. I don't mind being the wingman.
You're
All
beside
good.
a living legend right now, Jason.
I am. You're right. I appreciate the invite, Mike. Always, always appreciate it.
Now, so that episode, I knew it was going to be Donovan heavy because, again, double gold medalist.
Right.
I wanted to play the clips. It was really, you were right beside him, but I thought it was cool. Like the Don Whitman calls of Donovan's gold medal that Saturday in Atlanta, like watching Donovan listen to the call and then having him kind of remember and share his memories, like that was pretty awesome.
Every Michael Jordan has to have a Scottie Pippen, right? So for me, Wayne Gretzky's got to have the Yari Curry. But for me, just the fact that I was able to share that experience, you're right. And Donovan and I have been, friends, family, forever. So to me, sometimes I forget exactly who he is in terms of his athletic prowess, because to me, he's just the family. He's just friends.
Now, I can't, compare my relationship with Donovan to your relationship with Donovan, but now that 13 Tuesday mornings in a row I've been hanging with the man, I now know exactly what you mean, because it was like, at first it was like, oh my God, that's the guy I watched, win the gold medal in Atlanta, and I was so proud. I'm still proud of him. But now it's like, oh, there's my buddy Donovan. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of does a switch at some point. But again, I'm at risk now of making this the second Donovan Bailey episode. But this is absolutely the Jason Portuondo
Whatever's going to
episode.
get you listeners, that's all that matters. You put
Get me
Jason
listeners.
Portuondo on the podcast. Who is that? Donovan Bailey on the podcast. Oh, wow, Donovan's on. So, yeah, you know what? Hey, do what you got to do, my man.
I am proudly just as excited, if not more excited, to talk to people whose names might not be as recognizable. Real quick case in point. So I had a guest last week who raps by the name Decisive. Do you know the rapper named Decisive?
No.
No, you're not alone, okay? I've been a longtime fan, but I know most people don't know Decisive. His real name is Derek Christoph. I have been telling people all weekend, people who sometimes skip episodes when they don't know the name, and I've been telling them, don't make that mistake. And people like Steve Paikin, for example, I'm like, no, I know you're a Frank Sinatra fan, and you probably don't love hip-hop the way I do, but don't skip the Decisive episode because it's amazing. The quality of these episodes has very little to do with the name recognition of the guest. I think you're a fantastic guest, and I'm just very honored you're back.
I appreciate that. And you know what? You're right. We all have to start somewhere. At one point, the name Donovan Bailey didn't mean much, right? Until you get a chance to get on that platform, on that stage, and do your thing. Quick story.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, back in the day, I remember from watching this new Lakers series.
Which I'm going to get into. Don't spoil it.
Okay. He had a chance to buy into Nike. The Nike guy said, I can give you like $1 or whatever, but buy into it. And who knows? And Magic said no. And now that money translated to today is what, billions?
I don't even want to think of it.
Exactly.
And how many, you're a GTA guy. Right, which we'll get into your life and times. But how many people do you hear stories, something to the effect of, I had an opportunity to invest in Trivial Pursuit. This is the one I hear the most from Toronto people. Right. Trivial Pursuit must have come out in this area of the world. And a lot of people were given an opportunity, I don't know, let's make it up, $10,000 investment in this game, Trivial Pursuit. And I mean, I don't know, I always wonder, like if someone came to me and had this idea for a game and they said 10,000 investment or whatever, I can see myself passing on that. Like, I'll keep my 10K. Right. But meanwhile, everyone who invested in Trivial Pursuit laughed all the way to the bank.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? There's no right or wrong answer. But for me, yeah, I don't know if I would have done it either. It just seems like such a risky proposition.
Right.
And you got to, weigh the risk versus reward scenario. So I understand, but yeah. Can you ask me that again now?
No, because hindsight's 2020.
Yeah,
Somebody told me that once. Okay. Are you familiar with Spider Jones?
100%, yeah.
So how do you know? Do you just know him the way I know him as a personality on the radio?
Exactly.
Or do you actually know the guy?
Exactly. I mean, our paths have crossed just because of the broadcasting thing. But to say Spider and I go way back, no.
But okay, can you do a Spider Jones impression?
Awful. No. Wouldn't even try.
Spider Jones.
There you go.
That's
there
awful too, by the way. Okay. So on the weekend I spoke with Mitch Chavallo, who is the lone surviving son of George Chavallo.
Right.
George, one of Canada's greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. And anyway, at the end of the episodes, we did like 90 minutes, and it was beautiful. It was really wonderful. We talked about the trauma in the Chavallo family because 3 boys and, the mom, George's wife, Lynn, took their own lives it's just tragic story, and we were very honest, and we chatted about all that. Of course, we talked about George and his fights with Muhammad Ali and his heavyweight prowess. But then at the end, Mitch has a bone to pick with Spider. So I'm here. It's like if you had a bone to pick with Peter Gross.
Right. Which I don't. He's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
I heard the same story, by the way, from Mike Wilner. So you were going to get into that.
Oh, Wills. Yeah, we go way back too. 680 days. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to get into all this. But so Mitch had it was personal between Mitch and Spider, and Mitch wanted to air his thoughts on some things Spider has said over the years about his relationship with Muhammad Ali. And I was sitting there as a host, not very comfortable with this because I like Spider, first of all. Mm-hmm. Spider's not there to defend himself, even though we had recorded 2 weeks prior. Mm-hmm. And we had just had this great episode on George Chavallo, and then suddenly it's like, okay, and I don't edit these episodes. I'm going to warn you about that right now, Jason. But it was, for me, I found myself almost like softening the blows by kind of taking the case of Spider Jones to soften these remarks from Mitch. And I just want listeners to know I phoned Spider Jones. I phoned him right after that episode.
You do that so well.
The lovable one, Spider Jones. I phoned him right after that episode to tell him exactly what was said by Mitch and gave Spider the opportunity to retort, and I was going to attach that to the episode so listeners would hear. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. And then Spider decided not to do that, but I just want listeners to know Spider had an opportunity to respond to what Mitch was saying, and that's what happened on the weekend.
You're pretty good. That's strong journalism right there because you're caught in the middle. You don't want to tell one side. Every coin's got a head, has a tail. We get that. So you're just kind of like, this doesn't feel right. So I appreciate what you did there. And
you're a journalist. So I feel like this is high praise.
No, that's the way you got to do it, right? You got to be subjective. You can't lean either way. I mean, back in the day when, I was at Sportsnet and we're covering the Blue Jays, it's tough because, the Blue Jays owned by Rogers. Sportsnet owned by Rogers. You can't bite the hands.
Did you ever pull any punches because you knew who was signing your check?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get into your media career.
Okay.
People probably aren't even as aware of all the places you've been.
You have enough time for that?
It's true. You do have a heart out, but we're going to be fine. Last point before we get into why you chose this profession. Because there's lots of other great professions out there, but you chose, media. But I want to just say, we all received the sad news that Buck Martinez has to step down because he's fighting cancer. I got the news when I was actually at the Dome with my daughter just before I entered the gates. I went on Twitter and I saw it and I was like, oh, that's terrible. So did you ever bump into Buck personally? Like, other than, did you ever know Buck Martinez?
Not on a personal level, working relationship type level, for sure, here and there, but obviously tough news, and we all wish him the best. All reports from people that have worked with him and currently work with him.
Good guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Same here.
I mean, that's tossed around so much, but it truly is, I mean, there are so many great things about him, and as a player, I still remember that double play.
Oh, yeah, no, me
broke
too.
his leg in Seattle, and just phenomenal. So whether it be as a player, whether it be as a broadcaster, or best of all, just as a person, really good guy. So we wish him the best in that fight.
I reiterate and echo your sentiments there. Go Buck, go. I hear he's a great guy. His son went to my primary school, so I remember being very excited.
Really?
By the fact.
Okay.
Yeah, and Rance Molinick's son, too. This is St. Pius at Jane and Bloor. And it was exciting to have a Blue Jays son in the school. But okay, so Buck, one quick note about Buck, though, is on Friday, I co-hosted a sports podcast called Hebsy on Sports with Mark Hebsher.
Right.
Do you know Mark Hebsher?
1,000%. Good guy. Oh, way back. Oh, my. I remember the Hebsies all the time watching on Sportsline.
And maybe that'll be part of why you got into media. Maybe you were inspired by Jim Taddy and Mark Hebsher. But last note on this is to say, I actually, and this is all recorded. It's on YouTube, on Hebsy's YouTube. It's on the episode of Hebsy on Sports on Friday. But I remarked that I could hear in Buck Martinez's delivery that he was mumbling more than ever. And I actually, in hindsight, I wish I hadn't done this because of the news that came out on Sunday. But I did an impression of Buck, sort of like my Spider Jones. I did a Buck Martinez impression of how mumbly he had become. And I said, because I listened back after I got home from the Blue Jay game that Sunday, and I listened back, and I said, I'm legit concerned for the man. I love him, and he sounds unwell. This is what I said Friday.
Oh, wow. You picked up on that.
Well, I don't know what kind of cancer he has or what's going on, but he sounded unwell in his delivery, and I was worried he was unwell, and that was the Friday, and then we got that terrible news on Sunday. So go Buck, go.
Yeah.
Jason Portuondo, what the heck inspired you to become a member of the media?
It's a story that had quite a few twists and turns, but originally you come out of post-secondary education. Well, you go into post-secondary education because you have to, right? So you're in high school.
Right.
The system says you've got to go on, your friends go on, your family, your parents say you've got to go on. So you go on, but to be honest, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I came out of to even back it up a little bit further.
Yeah.
I went to U of T first, taking commerce.
Okay.
And I just did because one of my friends was taking that. Best friend at the time, Michael Sartor, was taking the same thing. So we were going down the same path. He is of Russian and Italian descent. He took Italian as his elective in terms of language. I said, give me French because I've spoken French since like grade 1. Went there and I just realized, this is not for me. And then you have to have that conversation with your parents, and they're just like, seriously? So I was lucky enough while I was at the Mississauga campus of University of Toronto.
Did you call it Arundel back then?
No.
Why do I remember calling it Arundel?
Well, there's an Arundel High School.
But now I see it's called University of Toronto, Mississauga. Now I went to the downtown campus. So I was at downtown. But,
the main one, yeah.
The main one. I remember that we referred to the Mississauga campus as Arundel.
Really?
That's what we called it, even within the internal mechanisms of U of T. But you're telling me, no, you knew it as University of Toronto.
Yeah, I've always called it U of T, yeah. I mean,
see, maybe I'm out to lunch. Maybe this is a tribute. Please continue. But I always thought this was the Arundel campus.
Oh, man.
Okay.
So, Gordana, I used to work back at Miracle Food Mart.
Hey.
And, that was my first job.
Okay, because I'm a Food City guy.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. $4.55 an hour.
Okay.
I'll not forget my first job. But anyways,
okay.
I ran into her and she said, well, geez, we have a sports show called Sports Gab and we're looking for a host. We had a guy just leave. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Well, I love to talk and I love sports, so let's try this. And that was my first step into the broadcasting path.
But where was this? Is this like part of the university station or something? Where is this Sports Gab?
CIUT.
Okay.
So back in the day, just kind of your underground, put two styrofoam cups and a string together. So no, it was on.
But this is on St. George, right?
Yeah. So this was 89.5. So we would tape it in Mississauga and send it down there, and they would air it.
And it's called Sports Gab.
It was called Sports Gab.
Okay, and it's all fresh in my mind because I produce a show for a gentleman named Andrew Applebaum, and the show's called Toronto Legends. And just yesterday, his guest was Mike Wilner. So the joke was so Wilner went long on his origin story. Hopefully you don't have this kind of time, okay? Yeah. But afterwards, Wilner said to me, I think we were off the record, he goes, I was once asked this at a thing, and he goes, an hour and 16 minutes later, he had finished his origin story, and he says he doesn't know. He goes, I don't know how to tell my origin story shorter than that. And I was thinking, I can help you with this. You can't take an hour to tell your origin 100%. Story.
But that's Wilner. I love him. I love the guy. Him and I go back to the days of 680 News. But yeah, so...
But he was also on the air at CIUT. This was the origin of his radio career as well.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. The only other person I know that had any type of broadcasting sort of coupling would have been Greg Sansoni.
Okay.
Greg Sansoni and I were together.
Wow.
Exactly. So Greg Sansoni and I were together at U of T, and I remember I would have exams before he would.
Right.
And instead of him asking me, hey Jay Porty, what was on the exam? He'd say, what did you guys talk about today on the show? Right. He was more concerned about Sports Gab than he was his actual, scholastics. So I was like, all right, I get it, no problem. But he, of course, went on to a great on-air career at The Score.
And now a great off-air career.
Yeah, now he's in management, right?
So I I'm on the live stream. We have a pirate stream, live.torontomike.com. YYZ Gord says it used to be called the Arundel campus. Mike is right.
Okay.
So it's not a trippy, because he graduated high school in 89, and that's what it was called. And that's around my era, too. I'm a little bit younger. But
so maybe I'm just not remembering it being called for that.
Okay, because I remember being surprised as an adult when I saw it rebranded as University of Toronto Mississauga, thinking, I guess it's not Arundel anymore. But we digress. Okay,
so Arundel campus it is.
Okay, so you're on the air at CIUT, and then how do you parlay that into a mainstream media career?
It was tough. It's very tough because
you're still working on it.
Exactly. Unlike most industries, it's hard to get that first step. I mean, no one wants to give you that first opportunity if you don't have the experience. So it's kind of
one man would, but please continue. I know one man, our mutual friend, would do that.
Right. Okay. So basically, to fast track, I kept my electives from U of T, Arundel campus, by the way, Mike, in case you don't remember. And what I did was I ended up going to a quick 2-year program at Seneca.
Okay.
Back in the day, I'm pretty sure it was a 4-year program at Ryerson. I'm like, 4 more years? I'm getting up there in age, and this is the industry where you don't want to, try to be breaking in when you're in your 30s. So anyways, took a 2-year program at Seneca, used my electives, kind of fast track, and I also was volunteering at Rogers, which was the best thing ever I've ever
This
done.
is like the Cable 10, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you have the same story as Wilner. He was at Newtonbrook, Cable 10, with a show called Let's Talk Sports.
Oh, see, I was in Mississauga.
Okay. So what were you doing for Cable 10?
You name it. I started out just kind of learning everything. I mean, floor directing.
And this is gone now, right? And this does not exist anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that aren't existing anymore, which is a shame because I often tell people if they want to get into broadcasting, get to your local TV station.
It's gone.
That experience. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, there's nothing that I learned in school that I didn't know already through volunteering at Rogers, except for reel to reel, which doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So that experience, it was unbelievable.
But you're putting in your reps on Cable 10. You've got the CIUT thing. You're then at some point you go to Seneca and you're learning there, I suppose. But then what is your very first opportunity that you got actual money for?
First opportunity to get money for.
Are you still waiting for that too?
Yeah, exactly. That would be 680 News. That would be 680 News because I remember auditioning and sending tapes all across Canada. I sent out like 40 resumes and tapes. And back then I was working
cassette tapes, right? These are actual cassettes.
VHS.
Oh, VHS.
Yeah, so back then I was working at part-time at FedEx. So I used that.
Smart.
to send it out. Makes it look professional. And oh, this kid's serious. He's using a lot of money to send out
Employee
these.
discount, or was it a 5-finger discount?
100% employee discount. No, I ain't into that 5-finger thing. No. Mama brought me up to be, honest. So yeah,
I got asked the tough questions.
Yeah, it wasn't that. But anyways, sent it out, and of 40 tapes sent out, only 3 people replied. One guy, ITV in Edmonton, was just nice enough to give me some criticism, and then I got 2 job offers. One was Victoria, BC. One was Kingston, Ontario. I chose Kingston, CBC, just because I could drive there instead of fly there, thinking that if you go somewhere where you got to fly, you're going to come home like twice a year.
Okay, no, this is, but you know what? This speaks to like the numbers game of it all. Like you were going to have a 3 and 40 hit rate. One was a polite reply. So let's make it 2 and 40, okay?
Perfect, yep.
1 out of every 20 was going to get a reply, but some people might only send out 5, 6, 7, and they'll never get the 1. The fact you got 2 job offers, it speaks to your persistence here and in trying to get a gig.
It's funny you mentioned that word, because I quite often go to schools and talk to kids, pre-COVID obviously, and they like to pick my brain, and I always say to them, there's a fine line between being persistent and being a pain in the ass.
Right. I say the same because I've been told I'm persistent, and sometimes
but at least you get
wonder,
an answer.
Right, but sometimes I have the thought, oh, you're being annoying. And then it's razor thin, and you'll speak to this right now. Razor thin, that between persistence and annoyance.
Yep.
And, tiptoeing on that line, that's an innate skill unto itself. And I'm not saying I'm good at it, but it sounds like you were able to toe the line there.
For me, it just shows that you really want it. So either a producer is going to look at it and say, executive producer says, let's just get this guy in here. I'm sick of hearing from him. Because I would often tell kids, you know what? Send in your resume. Right. And then a couple weeks later, just follow up. Oh, did you get the tape? Oh, did you get a chance to look at it? Oh, what do you think? And eventually they're going to say, okay, you know what? Stop calling me. If there's anything, I'll call you. Right. Or they'll say, just come in for an interview or come in for a while. Right. So you're going to get an answer. For me, the worst thing is not knowing. I always put things in relationship terms, and my wife laughs. It's like asking a girl out and she doesn't respond. It's like, okay, if you're not interested, I can deal with that. There are a million other girls out there.
But when the girl says no, do you ask again, or do you say no? She said no. Leave it alone.
No. I'm not into that. You know what? No means no for me.
Right.
I wouldn't ask again unless it's like Selma Hayek or something.
Well, that's a different story. You get a hall pass for that one. Yeah. Okay, so you're in Kingston, because I want to get you to 680. So how long are you in Kingston for?
Okay, so 680 was crazy, because I was actually on the air while I was in the final portion of my scholastic career.
Wait, so is 680 before Kingston?
Yes.
Okay.
So 680 was while I was at the end.
Is that like an unpaid internship?
Basically.
Okay.
And then, they'd throw me a few bones here and there.
But did you get to know Peter Gross?
That's how I got the job.
That's not... Okay, because your origin story is fucking identical to Mike Wilner's.
Yeah.
Identical.
I can guarantee you this, though. Wilner did not meet up with Peter in the ATM line at the racetrack. I can guarantee you that. That's where I saw Peter. Ran out of bullets, went back to refuel, and I was like, oh, Mr. Gross, a big fan of yours. Obviously, those have been back in his, obviously 680 days, because he's also been on City TV.
Of course.
Peter's done it all. Great guy. And I told him of my interest, and, we kept in touch, and he brought me in as an intern, and it was kind of cool, because I was the only kid in class that was actually on air. And also part of my graduating class, Rick Ralph, who was also part of.
Sure, he's out west now, right?
Yeah, Winnipeg, I think, was doing stuff with
too.
TSN
I get the odd email from him.
Yeah.
Okay, shout out to Rick Ralph if he's listening. So, Peter Gross and you hook up at where is that? Woodbine?
Yep.
Okay, it's amazing. It all comes back to the horses. Okay, the ponies. So Peter gets you in the door at 680. Right. Honestly, Wilner attributes his entire mainstream media career to Peter Gross giving him a chance at 680.
Yep.
It's wild to me.
There's a bunch of us.
Who else?
Damien Goddard.
Oh, he got a little controversy. Every time I hear the name now, I think he didn't like same-sex marriage.
Awesome guy. Opinions up to him. I mean, but as an individual, really good guy. So there, Michael Gossack. Another one that was at 680 and then went on to the Score to do some things. Andrea Goldstein.
Okay.
Also part of broadcast. Brewers fan. Her and I think are the only two north of the 49th.
You're a Brewers fan?
I'm a Brewers fan.
How did it happen?
You know what? Most of my teams, I know we're going to go off topic here, but a lot of the teams I cheer for is because, that's right up my alley.
Okay.
Watching them play against Toronto teams. So back in the day, not as far back as Greg Lazinski. That's a little bit far.
I think of White Sox when I think.
Yeah.
of
So maybe I'm giving you the wrong guy. Is it Killebrew? Anyway,
No,
Cecil
you know
Cooper.
what? I'm going to tell you who you're thinking. Cecil Cooper for
Cecil
sure.
Cooper for sure. Yeah. There was a big guy they had. Maybe it was. I forget his name. They called him
that was a good team. I remember that Brewers team gave Toronto a lot of
right.
fits.
So that's a little bit before my time.
Yeah, before.
But I'm saying for me,
Robin Yount was a big guy.
That's the big one for me. Robin Yount, Paul Molitor. Those
Rob
were
Deere?
the ones. Rob Deere. Yeah, he was okay.
Deere was either going to homer or strike out. There was no other option.
Yeah, I think he wore 45. I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he was a big guy. But yeah, Rob. Yeah, well, you're a typical home run hitter, right?
Okay.
Go deep or go sit back on the bench. But so Boston Bruins. I know the Leafs were never part of that Adams division. Leafs were Norris, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Of course,
so we were Adams. We were like Hartford, Buffalo, Montreal.
Which was the other conference? Like, because that was Wales, right? We were Campbell.
Wales. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well,
so I mean, a lot of the teams I cheer for were against Toronto teams.
Well,
so
why? You're from Mississauga,
know.
right?
I'm Mississauga. Yeah, born and
why?
raised, born in Toronto.
That's Toronto territory,
yeah.
and the only excuse, like when I hear like. To talk about Paquin for a minute. Like Paquin's like, oh, I heard Mike Wilner in the backyard. I loved it. Even though I'm a Red Sox fan, I enjoyed it. And I was thinking, oh yeah, but he's old enough. He's older than us. Okay. There were no Blue Jays when he was a kid. Like Blue Jays show up in 77.
Yeah.
But I know you've only got a couple on me. You should be a Blue Jays fan, not a Brewers fan.
I love all Toronto teams just because of where I'm from. But I have no allegiance to one city. Brewers in baseball, obviously, we're talking about Milwaukee. Bruins in hockey, Boston.
Gross.
Jazz in basketball, Utah.
Where does that? Is it Stockton and
Stockton
Mailman?
Malone? Oh yeah.
Okay.
And that was one of the greatest moments for me, by the way. Yeah. Peter called me. Never forget this. Lying in bed, Peter calls me, wakes me up. Hey, Portuondo, what are you doing? Sleep, Peter. Get down to Skydome. Your boys are here. I'm like, all right. So that was a very poor Peter Gross impersonation. But yeah, so I went to go cover a shoot around at Skydome. Yes, Skydome, because that's where the Raptors were back then. And got a chance to meet Greg Ostertag, and I saw Karl Malone. And yeah, it was...
the mailman always delivers.
Yeah, so for me, Karl Malone, John Stockton, those were the days.
Wow.
Karl Malone might be the only black man I know with a belt buckle, but and driving an 18-wheeler. But yeah, so Karl Malone, that was amazing. I think Jeff Hornacek was also part of that.
So
team
you got these strange allegiances that
I do, and the final one, Eagles.
But that one I understand. We don't have a team. We don't have a horse in that race.
Right. Okay.
So some guys have said Bills, but really I don't. You can, and that's because of Randall Cunningham, right?
Randall Cunningham.
He was the best.
My favorite two athletes of all time: Randall Cunningham and Cam Neely. So I got
They're two good athletes.
Cunningham and Cam. They rhyme, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, shout out to Cam Neely and Ray Bork.
But anyways, to answer your question from half an hour ago, yeah, Peter Gross first, 680 News, applied for that job in Kingston. And Peter says to me, did you apply for some job in Kingston? I'm like, yeah, why? He goes, because I put Peter down as my reference.
Right.
They called the boss of the station, John Hinnon, and Hinnon wouldn't know me from Adam. So... yeah, he said, well, let me speak to the sports guy. And I guess whatever they said was good enough because that was my first job in the industry. And then I've been a ton of places since.
Well, listen, did you listen? It's funny because I talked about Decisive and I talked about Mitch Chavallo, but there was another episode last week with Peter Gross. Mm-hmm. And we're like doing our thing. Peter's always great. We're talking about the Sovereign Awards. Yeah. Peter didn't win, but he was like an underdog against a couple of...
yeah, that's kind of tough because he's doing a podcast, right? It's awesome.
A TMDS production.
Right.
Much
And
like Running Things with Donovan Bailey
there
and
you
Jason
go.
Portuondo.
But the production, it's tough. You're going up against TV shows, right?
You're going up against a huge, big budget teams,
right.
and you're just like, dude, yeah. But good for him for being nominated.
100%.
He went to the Sovereign Awards with Garnet Barnsdale, I believe.
Awesome guy.
You know what?
is a great guy.
We didn't talk about this off the top, but that's where I first met you, right? Didn't you and Garnet visit me when we were doing Down the Stretch?
It would have been three of us here on the mic.
Who
Garnet,
else was there?
Peter,
Jennifer Morrison
and Peter.
What a team!
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
That would have been the four of us. How do the four of us fit here?
We made it work. I put somebody there. Like there's no camera, and then two
right
there,
here.
Maybe three there. I don't know how I did it, but there was one time Jim McKenney was here. I don't know, but Ian Garnett's son.
There's
was
another
here.
good guy. Oh,
McKenney.
Oh, horse racing too.
It's all about horse racing. So let's get into your career here because there's a lot to cover. But you, what brings you back? So you're in Kingston. How long are you in Kingston for?
Kingston wasn't very long, a couple of years. So it was a great spot to go somewhere, make some mistakes, get to know the craft. And quick story.
Yeah.
There one night, I like to have fun when I'm doing my sports, right? For me, sports is an escape from reality, right? So doing highlights one night, and Leafs are playing whoever, and Glenn Healy's in net, and he's flopping around. And I said, look at Glenn Healy flopping around in the crease trying to find the puck, looking more like Jeff. At the time, not realizing Jeff is blind.
You did wait. I thought that was the joke.
No, I would never do that. I would never do that.
Honestly,
Glenn Healy's flopping around looking like a fish trying to find the puck.
I don't know where to begin of this. How do you not know Jeff Healy's blind?
I know of Jeff Healy.
Not your genre.
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, but I mean, I'm well rounded. I mean, I listened to Love and Rockets, So Alive, a punk group, right? I mean, I bought that album back in the day, right? So, there you go. Super Cat. There you go. All right, so there we go. So, I am well-rounded. Love my reggae for sure. But I mean, Robert Plant now and then. I mean, that's a bunch of things I could throw at you. You'd be like, wow, how do you even know that? So
when I remember when Confidence Man, that was like the first big single, I think, from Jeff Healy, and Q107 was playing in Confidence Man. Like the whole idea was he was playing the guitar in his lap because he was blind.
Yeah.
Like this was a huge part of the
well,
Jeff Healy
I can
legend.
breathe easy because the story becomes kind of full circle here. So I go upstairs after the broadcast, a little old lady, typical small market television station, calls, gets right through to me, which would never happen here. And she's like, oh, hi, Jason, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm fine, ma'am. How are you? She goes, you weren't referring to the blind guitarist, were you? And I'm like, oh, no, ma'am, not at all. And then I went back downstairs. I'm like, guys, you guys couldn't tell me that, they're like, we thought you knew. Anyways.
I thought that was a joke.
No, I would never make such a joke.
Because that's actually a fucking funny joke.
I wouldn't do that.
And it's
that's
not
awful.
disrespectful. It's just he would be a poor goalie because he's visually impaired.
So years later, met Jeff at Woodbine. Told him the joke. He laughed his ass off.
It's funny.
So at least I can,
Look, trust me, I know what's insensitive and what's inappropriate, and that's actually
These
very
days,
funny joke.
Oh my goodness.
Because you're not making fun of him for being blind. He is blind, and it is de facto, therefore, inferred he would be a very poor goaltender.
Right, but I would never go down that road. I've had people say to me...
I think Hebsy would have dropped that on Sportsline.
Speaking about how insensitive people are these days, or how sensitive things are, somebody said, well, can I call you black? I said, well, yeah, you can, because that's what I am. I said, what's worse is if you call me colored, because what am I? Am I pink? Am I blue? Am I green? Am I red? Because back in the day, that was a thing, calling somebody colored. And to me, that's more offensive.
Oh, way back in the day.
Yes, right. Than it is to say black. It's like saying, I'm not Afro-American, because I'm not American.
Yeah, because you're
and I don't have an
Jamaican,
Afro.
right?
My background is Cuban and Jamaican. Yeah, Cuban first, then Jamaican.
Okay.
And then obviously I was born here. So, Portuondo, yes. Hablé español un poquito, sí.
Nice. And Supercat is your favorite artist?
Yeah, you know what? He would be my favorite dancehall, for sure, artist. Yeah, I mean, I love Shaba. Oh, you see? But when you do that, you're going to lose me, right? Because I'm going to get up and start dancing. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Girls every day. There we go. From London, Canada, and the USA. Girls every... Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Shaba.
Me have a trailer load of girl. Oh, my... Yeah, so Shaba for sure. I mean... But I have such a wide range of music. Love my 50s. Love my 60s. 40s, that's a little bit for me. But my wife often says to me, like, the hell, how old are you? But I just love that type of music. Even my daughter's like, Dad, it's so boring. But that's me. I grew up as a CHFI kid, so...
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Candlelight and Wine?
Don Jackson?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He just passed away, didn't he? I think he passed away a couple years ago.
So, I mean, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, that's WBLK, The Quiet Storm. I mean, Hooker and Dawn. I mean, that's...
Because they never played Supercat on CHFI.
No, but they played Kim Carnes' Betty Davis Eyes.
She's got Betty Davis eyes.
There you go. Yeah.
I love that jam.
Oh, you like your dice. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
all right, so let's get you to CHCH here, okay? Is that next on the...
Yeah, so would have been... No. So from CKWS in Kingston, the CBC affiliate, which, by the way, they said I was the first black man on TV there. So
well, that's something. Right,
that's kinda,
you broke the color barrier.
Yes, exactly.
You're like the Jackie Robinson of Kingston television.
Let's just say I stood out a little bit in Kingston. Let's just say that. And then from there to Woodbine, I was doing the shows on Sportsnet. Scott Moore brought me over. Left Sportsnet, had a non-compete in my contract saying I couldn't do sports. That's where CH came in.
Okay, but wait a minute. How long you at Sportsnet for? 8 years, right?
2002 to 2010. Yeah. So I guess 9. And
Wait, why did you leave Sportsnet?
Got down to a beef. And I
With
kind of...
whom? I need names here.
The boss at the time, Dave Akonde.
Okay.
And I actually thought that it was kind of a joke thing. But, you kind of feel like the walls are closing in on you because it got to a point where I didn't have my own show. I started there doing weekends and mornings. Became where I got pushed to. Ivanka and I kind of flip-flop. She's still there, Ivanka Osbeck.
Of course, yeah.
So she started out on mornings, and I was on weekends. They flip-flopped us. And, we could talk a lot about sports. But anyways, long story short, I had gone in that day, put my makeup on, had gone through the whole regular routine. I voiced headlines and whatever else. And then boss said to me, what are your plans? And I said, well, you know what? The way things have been going, I don't know if there's still a fit for me here. And he's like, well, we're hoping you resign for, a couple more years or whatever. And I said, well, I don't want to be locked into. It basically came to the point where people would say to me, hey, when are you on again? And I was like, I don't know. When somebody's sick.
You wanted a regular,
I had a regular spot, but I just kept getting bumped around. And, it's such a subjective industry. But I could just feel the walls closing in. And, when Scott Moore was there, life was fine. He was a big fan of mine. He brought me over, and then he left other people.
He's a big fan of this podcast, so he's listening right now.
Oh, perfect. You know what? Awesome guy. Really awesome guy. And for me, it's almost like being a player on a team and a new GM comes in. And because you weren't part of that GM's regime, it's like, okay, do we go with somebody new? Even the head coach these days gets a little bit nervous when a new GM comes in and you weren't hired by.
This is not, by the way, this is in every industry. Can I tell you? Because I've been in software companies where the new marketing guy's got his people he worked with, and he brings them all over. And
but long story short, we're expecting to sign long term. I didn't want to, and he was like, all right, maybe we should cut terms and cut ties. And I was like, oh, all right. When? Effective immediately. So I basically went back downstairs and be like, all right, guys, see you later. And they're like, where are you going?
Packed your box or something.
He didn't even do that. It was the weirdest breakup because I came back in afterwards to put a demo tape together. I still had access to the building. It was just kind of
your card still worked?
Yeah, my
You're
card still worked.
Milton, okay? They forgot.
Well, no, they left it open on purpose. This was like the girlfriend you break up with that guys are still going out. And
was that in lieu of severance? Like, okay,
I still got my
but
severance.
you can.
I got my severance, but it's it's just a very cutthroat industry, and it was good. It was, it was a great run. Everything happens for a reason. It's a lifestyle that I couldn't afford to have right now, having my daughter and everything. It was just too much. I remember getting home one morning, it was like 5:00 after a playoff game on the West Coast with the Canucks, and it takes a while when you get home to unwind, right?
Yeah, you can't just go to sleep.
Right, you can't just go to sleep. And I remember finally getting tired and walking up the stairs and seeing light shine through the window, and I'm like, oh, wow, my neighbor's going to work early. Oh, no, that wasn't my neighbor's car lights. That was the sun rising. And I'm going to bed, and it's like 5:30 in the morning.
I know that feeling, after I record an episode of Toast, I can't just go to bed. Like, it takes hours to unwind. You're all jacked.
Yep. That's exactly what happens. But so then Sportsnet went through the door, went by the way of the Dodo Bird, and then from there, like I said, CH had to do some news there before I got.
So you went to Hamilton.
Yep.
Was Hebsy there?
Hebsy was there. Yep.
What about Bubba O'Neill?
Bubba was there. Bubba's the man who opened the door for me.
Well, let's talk. Okay, so
Bubba's a
only
great guy.
FOTMs are helping you out in this career because Peter Gross and then Bubba O'Neill.
Yeah.
Tell me about the legend Bubba O'Neill.
Bubba's an awesome guy. Bubba and I go back to Sportsnet too, because Bubba was on air at Sportsnet doing updates.
Right.
And then he was one of the producers there. So, Bubba and I go way, way back. And he was one that reached out to me and said, oh, well, how about coming over and trying to do some news there since you're in sports jail? And did that for a while, and then ended up working on Sportsline with Bubba and then with Hebsy as well.
Right.
Became the weekend anchor doing sports, the backup for Bubba.
Were you at CHCH when the bankruptcy was declared?
100%.
Okay, so can I get the story? Because the day after this happened, Hebsy came in and he actually crashed the David Schultz episode of Toronto Mike to tell the story. But so they had, this is what I understand. There was like, you were either going to be in this room or this other room, and everybody in one room was going to be like, you're let go away. And then everybody in this other room
Right. It was the weirdest thing.
given like a job offer
Yes.
to look, this company is gone, but there's a new Channel Zero or whatever
Right.
that is going to like rise from the ashes and give you back your old job
Yes.
at a lower rate.
It was the craziest thing.
So what happened to Jason Portuondo?
I went upstairs, which was the room where, you're not being terminated and we'd like to offer you something. You'll be starting from scratch. Basically, it was the weirdest thing. So 2 different rooms, 2 different floors.
Right.
And those on the bottom floor were done. And since they filed for bankruptcy, it was like the company
No
never
severance.
existed.
Well, remember the story about Hebsy was he was in the wrong room.
Yes, he was. I remember that. That was quite embarrassing. And he didn't even know that there were supposed to be 2 different rooms. He just saw people walking, started walking with them.
And then I guess his boss taps him on the shoulder and
Yes.
says, "You're in the wrong room."
Yes, I remember that because I remember seeing him get up and leave, and I was like, "Oh, whoa."
Look, I'm no employment lawyer, but if I may pretend to be one for a minute, absolutely. Even in the good room which you were in, you're still being fired. Like it's like you are now fired.
Yes.
No severance, but here's a job offer to do exactly what you were doing before for the new version of this company,
Which became a numbered company. Yeah.
a numbered company, but of course not the same salary.
Yeah. It was very weird. So
It's actually bullshit, Jason. And
It
it should have been illegal.
yeah. Well, when you mention that word law, I'm not.
You're
the best.
tapping out. You're
Yeah,
tapping
yeah. I'm
out.
just like, you go ahead because.
Well,
to me,
shout out to Lauren Honigman. I bet you
Yeah.
this thing stinks to the high heavens. And at the time I felt this, I think it stinks because no severance. Meanwhile, I can go on my TV upstairs right now and tune in CHCH. They're still doing the news from CHCH. It's
brand new location now. They just opened up like last week.
But no severance because you declared bankruptcy and then started a new numbered company that
They're
did
not
the
the
same
first.
thing.
They're not the first, right? I mean,
They should have been the last.
there are companies who've been able to use the system and use it to their benefit, right? So maybe blame the system. They did what they had the right to do, but I mean, you're in a point where, you want a job, so whatever you have to do, you do.
So what did you do? Did you accept the new job?
I accepted. Well, I stuck it out there for not very long. And then actually a door was reopened at the racetrack and actually went there and was warned about, oh, you sure you want to go back there? You never know. And I went back there and then the government took the money away from the slots program. So was back at CH. So it was kind of like a ping pong effect. So this has not been, all flowers and berries. It's, it's had its trials and tribulations. But, for me, that just, makes it that much sweeter when you persevere.
You did something right because here you are now on Toronto Mic'd, okay?
There you go. I have made it, damn it. It only took, what episode is it, 1,085?
1,036, I think.
1,036.
I have to go check the
right.
notes. And remember, it's not your first appearance.
That's right.
We can hear some Jason on the Donovan Bailey
Right.
episode 1002.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
So the CH, by the way, so how much, you could give numbers, statute of limitation. You could give numbers, it's up to you. But let's pretend if you were making, I'm making up numbers now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you were making $75,000 a year working at CHCH, and then they fire you and say, oh, here's a job offer to do the same shit for the new numbered company, what would that salary have been related to the 75?
That's a good question because back then we had timesheets. So I don't know if we even got paid like a certain salary, but it would be, I don't think to be honest though, I don't remember it being significantly different. If the number you said was 75.
Yeah. The new number would be
70?
60?
65? Yeah, I don't remember it being, and again, you're asking a guy who doesn't remember Airedale. So, I mean, I know that was a little further back because that was like early 90s. But anyways, for me, yeah, I don't know. I do not remember the number being that far off. And it wasn't like you were taking a $30,000 pay cut.
Okay.
So that's what I remembered at. It was more a case of, do you want a job?
It was less, but it wasn't grossly, shout out to Peter.
No.
It wasn't ridiculously less.
Exactly.
But it was less. And you took it because you had nothing, because there was no severance, right? So it's not like you're choosing between severance and your job, right? Mm-hmm. You're choosing between nothing and the job, and you could always look for other work while you're doing the job for less money. So you took the bird in the hand.
Right. You're always more attractive when you're working than when you're not.
Right. And some people like Hebsy didn't get this opportunity. They were just told, get out of here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And pay, unfortunately, you know what? Sometimes making big money is not a good thing. I'm sure Hebsy made a lot more than I did. And a lot of the other people, Matt Hayes and Weather, a few other people, you know, they're making significant.
Dixon, that he was there, right?
Dixon was there, but I think he survived. he was not one of
Yeah.
the ones that go, and now obviously he's CP24.
And Bubba's there still.
Bubba's still there.
And,
You know,
do you know how
Bubba-
Bubba's doing? Because he had a health scare.
Yeah, he went through some COVID stuff, and Bubba's doing well, which
Good.
is great. I mean, you know, community guy, man. What he has done
Right.
for Hamilton over the years, man, oh man. Just Bubba the person. You don't like Bubba O'Neill, something's wrong with you. You don't like
Right.
life.
Right.
Great guy, great guy.
Sort of like you. I don't know. I actually don't know anyone who has a bad word to say about Jason
Oh, you
Portuondo.
haven't dug deep enough.
Who should I talk to?
I don't know.
Give me
but
that list.
There are a few out there, let me tell you. Not everybody is a fan. I could tell you some of the comments I heard back in the day. I didn't know they let black people on TV.
Oh, you're talking about racism.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
different.
yeah.
I can find a bunch of redneck
Exactly,
racists who are going to
yeah.
say shit about you.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
of us sensible
The best
people.
one, by the way,
Yeah.
I used to have this one guy. He would criticize me because I would cross-reference sports, like I said to you with Jeff Healy, the block in the paint. You know, I said goalie made a good save. I'd say so and so with the block in the paint, which is obviously a basketball term.
Right.
But this guy wrote
He didn't like
me
you
and
mixing that. And that's probably rooted in racism too.
He's just like, oh, this idiot keeps keeps cross-referencing sports and blah, blah, blah. And what is being done now today by almost every broadcaster?
Sure. No, that was racist. I can tell you now. This
There
is
you
somebody who doesn't like a black man putting a basketball reference into a hockey.
I would do it, and,
talk.
whatever. It wasn't just it wasn't
But
just.
Bubba's a proud black man himself. Like, he must have experienced the racism.
Oh,
as
I'm
well.
sure he has. I'm sure he has. And you know what? If I were to have let those comments, get to me, then the people that were saying it would be exactly, getting exactly what they want. So, you got to be like Teflon. If you're going to be in any industry where you are in the public eye, you just got to let certain things slide.
Well, now I recall my conversation with Bubba. He talked about John Saunders giving him advice and something to the effect of you have to work 10 times harder than the white guy.
You know what? I don't want to name names, but I was in a position one time at Sportsnet and was told I'm looking for somebody, to host this show who is 6 foot tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, and I do not fit any
That's illegal.
of that. Yeah, a little bit. So,
And this is not that far back because it's 2000s. You were there from 02 to 2010. That's super because, we heard,
So it wasn't phrased exactly like that, but I'm giving you,
No, but that's code for we want a white guy.
Well, yeah, exactly. This is what we're looking for. And those of you who know me, I am nowhere near 6 feet. And my hair is not blonde, and I do not have blue eyes. So,
Well, okay, that's code. This is code. We
Right.
want a white
so
guy.
now some will say, well, times have changed. And now all of these different companies are talking about inclusion and diversity and whatever else. But I will also flip it the other way.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody to hire me because I'm black. I want you to hire me because you think I'm good. It's a bonus that I'm ethnic. But if somebody said to me, I'm going to give you a job because you're black, you know what? I don't want it. And that is the honest to God truth.
So a lot of your career, particularly of late, has been around the horses.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get into this. But have you ever experienced racism talking horses?
Oh, for sure. I mean, anytime you're putting yourself in the spotlight, like I said, you're going to get people who are going to say negative things. Some are race related, some are just racing related. But for the most part, I will say this, because of what I do, a lot of people give me a certain level of respect that didn't before when they thought I was just a groom or an exercise rider on the backstretch. So a lot of people think I went right from being, in the community on the backstretch to being on TV, but they don't realize the steps I took.
Okay, so tell me,
know?
because this whole backstretch thing, like not all of us talk horse race. Not all of us produce great podcasts like Down the Stretch with Peter Gross.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you talking about? Like, tell me about this like horse racing aspect of your career. Like,
So I've been around horses since I was like 5.
wow.
So my uncle used to own harness horses. My dad used to have harness horses. My uncle still has, a couple here and there. But, I've been in racing for a long time. My first job in racing, I was probably about 14.
Okay.
So I've covered the game from all angles, whether it be working with the horses, on TV, talking about the horses. There's just been so much that I've done. And, and when working back there, I'm not sure if they still have these programs, but they had a working program for people coming up from the Caribbean, whether it be Trinidad or Barbados, Jamaica. And a lot of them would come up to work with the horses and then go back home at the end of the season. But quite often, I would be working and I was referred to as the help. And that was kind of like, it doesn't sit well with me. It's that subservient thing,
that's right.
And it's like, I have a name. I'm not saying I'm on your level because, yes, I'm working for you. But I've had jobs where I'm working for someone and still felt equal.
No, the help is dog whistle races.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, that didn't sit well. But, I mean, that's the mentality of a lot of people, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. And there's so much stuff that has happened in the past in terms of racism that, I don't know how people dealt with it. But, it's tough.
Okay, so when do you do Talking Horses on CTV? What part of your career is this?
So that would have been,
Is that after CHCH?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was after CHCH. Basically, when I was kind of getting back into Woodbine. That was a Joe Tilley special.
Coming up!
Yeah, and Joe's, I don't want to mention a rival podcast, but obviously Joe does
Joe's
his.
an FOTM. You can talk about it all you want.
Great Canadian. I think I forget the name of his podcast. Been on there many times. But, yeah, of course, Joe, Lance Brown, Sunil Joshi. Grew up watching those guys on CTV, right? So, yeah. So that was a lot of fun. Jennifer Morrison was also part of that show. And Joe's daughter, Maddie Jo, was also a part of that program.
For sure.
Yeah, we had fun. And you know what? Anytime someone has anything to help support racing, I'm for it. Because racing doesn't get that same push like a basketball, football, baseball, hockey, whatever.
So when you're doing Talking Horses on
Yep.
CTV, that puts you in the Bell Media family, right? Are we Bell or Bell Media at this point, right?
Yeah, Bell Media.
Okay.
Yep.
So is that how you become like the trackside reporter for horse racing on TSN?
No, so those were two separate things. So
Okay.
basically that was me working for Woodbine, and it just so happens that TSN would be the supporting, network, because I've done Bet Night Live on the Score back in the day, John Levy's station. Sportsnet obviously was how I got to Sportsnet from doing the racing, and then TSN is the most recent one.
Across the street from us right now, I know you know where I'm going here.
Yeah, right now, is he out there?
Right now, probably plugging in his Tesla as we speak right now. Roman Dyken, okay, father of FOTM Laura Dyken. So I do enjoy a big horse race, like watching the TV, and me and the whole family, we each pick a horse, and no real money, but we all, we pick a horse. I know my daughter picked a Mighty Heart.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she loved that horse. She's and of course that Mighty Heart won. Shout out to Jennifer Morrison, who wrote a book about a Mighty Heart. We like to promote that book. Great horse racing story in this country. But so when we're watching the Queen's Plate or whatever, we'll see FOTM Laura Dyken and you. Like, so what is that gig? Is that you're the co-host of these large Canadian horse racing events that air on TSN?
Yeah, so we have a weekly show as well. Racing Night Live.
Tell me everything.
Not sure when that's coming back. Hopefully next month in May. But
And it's you and Laura.
Laura and I are the co-hosts on the set. We've got roving reporter Chad Rosema out at Woodbine Mohawk Park. We've got Brody Lawson, part of the show, and Emily Agard was part of the show, but now she is at Sportsnet, so I'd be very surprised if she's back this year. Just a little bit of a conflict of interest, but yeah. So anyways.
Only Maddie Devlin can play both sides.
Yeah, well, again, that's a little bit different with them. It's like a Paul Jones. He gets to broadcast on the Fan 590 or TSN.
And Leo did it forever until Sportsnet cut the ties this year.
Yeah, so they're in a bit of a different situation. They're just kind of independent contractors, and just wherever the work shows up, that's where they are. So anyways, so Racing Night Live is a weekly show, and then we have some biggies. The Queen's Plate obviously being the biggest one, coming up again in August. We've got the North America Cup in mid-June. So we cover the big events, but we also have a weekly show, and we're just trying to get new people into racing, younger people into racing.
Right. So between Down the Stretch, the podcast, and you and Laura's work on TSN, you're doing a great job. Now, could we take a moment and talk about Laura? Okay, enough about you.
We can take like 10 moments if you want.
Talk about Laura Dyken. What's it like working with her? What kind of person she is? She's not active on social media. So I find I feel I don't know her that well. Like I feel like people who are active on social media, you have this sense that you're hearing their thoughts and reading their thoughts on a fairly regular basis, but she never tweets or whatever. How's Laura doing? What is it like working with Laura?
Newly married. That happened last year.
She lived with a guy for a long time.
Yes. Newly
same
married.
guy?
Yeah, same guy.
Okay, just
same
checking.
guy.
Okay,
yeah.
good for you. Congratulations, Laura Dyken.
Yeah, and awesome, in a word. So much fun. She, as much as you think she's fun seeing her on TV, in person you can, multiply that times a billion. She is such a cool person, and we have a lot of fun doing these shows, and that was one of the reasons why, being at the racetrack through those pandemic years was just, that much better because of her presence. And she enjoys racing. She's done it for a long time. So it was a great fit when TSN decided to use her as, their representative, right?
So, and you guys are a good team. Like I mean, and again, I do have this great vantage point to watch you and Donovan Bailey every Tuesday morning, which we'll talk about in a minute. But so maybe you're good with everybody. Like, this is the sense I get. I feel like so, but you and Laura are very good together. Like, there's a great chemistry.
Yeah, we do have a lot of fun, and it's natural, right? It's not like there are some people that when that red light goes on, they're perfect together. But as soon as that red light goes off, they don't necessarily talk.
Gord Martineau and Ann Muskowski.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you got to
wow.
listen to the first Ann Muskowski episode of Toronto Mic'd.
Wow.
Great example of when the red light's on, there's one thing. And when that red light goes off, brrr.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there, done that with certain co-hosts as well. And it's all about acting, right? But that's weird. We're performing. We are performing. But
Well,
I can honestly
professionals.
say...
You're paid
Right.
to entertain. You're not going to be pissy with the co-host you don't like.
Right. And I can honestly tell you, her and I, it's genuine.
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 Okay, good.
Yeah. She's good peeps, really good peeps. And one of the reasons why I love doing the show is...
You know what? If you want to get on her, not that you need to get on her good side, but just play her some old Rolling Stones. She has very nostalgic, warm, fuzzy memories of the hot rocks stuff, like 64 to 61 Rolling Stones. Like one jam I'd recommend, maybe next time you're with her, just start singing it out loud. Let's spend the night together. Like, it just brings back
She might
memories.
slap me.
That's true.
What do you
I need to
you trying
rethink
get me
all
in
this.
trouble
Maybe
here?
not in the corporate environment.
That's perfect. Yeah, let's spend
True.
the night together.
But that
our
is,
mics are on. Yeah, okay.
it'll remind her of being a child in her dad's car, and her dad would
Oh,
listen to.
gotcha.
She gets a nice nostalgic, warm fuzzy for the old Rolling Stones.
Well, that's good to know, though, because I quite often before the show I'm pumping music
Yeah,
on the laptop.
Hot Rocks.
So
Hot Rocks, right? This
Yeah,
double.
I'll put
'cause
that in.
That was my introduction to the Stones.
usually
was-
it's like some type of reggaeton, but
yeah,
okay.
you probably put on the. I know. Listen to me. I know exactly what you're doing here. You're putting on some.
Well, this is more dancehall, but yeah, the reggaeton would be like Daddy Yankee, a little Fonzie,
Espanol.
Nicky Yam. Oh yeah, more of that. But yeah,
What about Enough Man Are Dead?
of course. Oh my gosh, you know what?
Reggae Espanol.
There you go. It's Sherman Hamilton,
Yeah, okay. I want him on Toronto Mike. Are you friendly with Sherman?
100%.
Introduce me.
Okay.
I met him at a boot event thing, but I want you to introduce me to Sherman. I want him on Toronto.
You got a pen? I'll give you his number. 416.
Hold on.
555. No, just
It's Patrick. You got life insurance.
exactly. Anyways, yeah, him and I are big fans of Supercat. That's
Okay.
probably our favorite artist. When I was doing my radio show, Sherm was my
On G98.7?
G98.7.
Tell me about that for a minute
Sherm's
here. I
my
know you
radio
do
guy.
have to bust out of here for a meeting, but
That's good.
you got a few more minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So it would have been February 2012, I want to say,
Okay.
when we went on the air for the first time. Station, I want to say November of 2011 the station started. Anyways, Fitzroy Gordon,
Yes, the
CEO,
legend.
the legend,
the late
yes.
great.
Oh, yeah. Reached out, spoke with Wayne Williams, who was the music director at the time, and
Right.
they told me a vision of doing a sports show, and I was like, wow, this is awesome, because at the time, I had just left Sportsnet, didn't really do any sports because I couldn't, but now that I was out of jail, this is actually another part of the career we forgot. But yeah, anyway,
What
so
part
yeah.
did we wait? What is this jail part? So
so-
Sportsnet said you could not work for a competitor.
Yeah, so it's
But did they pay you to not work for a competitor?
it's a non-compete. No, it's a non-compete.
My lawyer would tell you to rip it up if there's no compensation tied
Again,
to that.
There's that 3-letter word. So yeah, I mean, I did have some people that were, kind of telling me to do the same, but I just whatever. It was only 6
Because
months.
traditionally it's like you can't work for the competition because we're paying you to
Right.
not work for us.
Yeah, no, my contract was up. And yeah. Anyways,
Bullshit.
Anyways, we move on. But yeah, so it's G98.7. It was a lot of fun. 10 years. My first show,
Yeah.
Eric Dickerson I had on.
Wow,
So talk
2,000 yards.
Talk about setting the bar, a little
Rams.
high. Actually, yeah, we had him on the day when I forget who it was nearly broke his single season mark, and he was actually grocery shopping. I think it was with his daughter, and people were sending him all these texts saying how close the player was getting.
Right.
Never did get there, so he is still the man. But yeah, Sherm was my basketball guy, and yeah, that was.
Okay, you're gonna hook me up with Sherman Hamilton.
Yep.
Oh, what are your thoughts on the changes at that station? So Fitzroy Gordon passed away, and they sold the station, and then if they took the branding, they basically got the Flow branding,
right, because Flow has now gone in a different direction.
Because Flow has gone in a very, very different direction. So what are your thoughts on all this? What are your thoughts on Toronto radio with regards to playing music like we're hearing right here?
Yeah, there's a need for it. There is 100% a need for it. So
Does 98.7, which is now known as the new Flow, if you will, is that doing anything like that, or is that basically just playing like
no, they
K-Dot and
no, they're pretty good. Specs the boss. Shout out to Specs, Mr. Reggae, and he's in the drive home slot. Plus, he's on Sundays as well, and he is still very much.
Can I promote a guest next week?
Sure.
On my program?
Go for it.
Mastermind.
Okay.
Mastermind on Toronto Mic next week, since we're in the Flow zone here.
Digging back.
Well, yeah, he was there till pretty recently, though. He only got let go when they brought in that American show. They brought in they syndicated the breakfast show out of New York. That's when Blake Carter and Peter Cash were put on afternoons, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So it wasn't that long. It was like right around the time, just before the pandemic, I would say. Just before the pandemic. It's only a couple years ago.
But yeah, no, there's a need for it in this city. And it was a great foundation put into place by Fitzroy. And we're all thankful, because without him, none of this is possible. So it took a lot of years, and World Beat Sports with Jason Portuondo had a good, basically 10-year run on that network.
98.7.
Yeah, so that was
G98.7. Yeah, no, I'm glad we talked about that. Now I'm going to give you a few gifts, because this is the second time. What did the family think of the Palma Pasta lasagna you brought home after your episode 1002?
Molto bene. Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, now here's the thing. I'm married to an Italian that doesn't like cheese.
There's a lot of cheese in that lasagna.
I know.
So she didn't eat it.
So she's like, nah, I tried a bit of,
Not even mozzarella cheese. Because there are some people who don't want the stinky cheese.
I don't like Parmesan. No, I'm the same way.
Yeah, because Parmesan smells like puke, man.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not a fan myself. But mozzarella, that is a delicious cheese.
Yeah.
But not for your wife.
Not for my wife,
So what about you? What did you think of your lasagna?
Oh, I loved it because I don't get it. I mean, she makes a lot of authentic Italian dishes, but that's not one of them.
But
she's just not into lasagna. No.
Well, it's tough to make lasagna. That's why you got to buy your lasagna. People who want a good, authentic lasagna.
Where can I get one?
Palma Pasta.
Okay, I'm going to check
You know what? You're a Mississauga guy.
Yes, I am.
There's 3 locations in Mississauga, and there's one in Oakville. So this is West End stuff. Go to palmapasta.com to get the info. We're going to have an event. We had an event with Wilner and Gross and all these guys we talked about. Perry Lefko, he's a guy.
He's another one,
right?
We used to go to the gym together.
We had an event in December 2019 at Palma's Kitchen, TMLX5. You're going to have to come to the one this coming December.
Yep.
If the rules let us do it again. Okay, so Great Lakes Brewery is a local craft brewery, family-run brewery. Delicious, fresh craft beer. I got some Great Lakes for you as well, buddy.
Nice. I appreciate it. Anything you have, I will gladly accept.
Well, here, I got a couple more things.
Oh, more? Okay.
I got something from Ridley Funeral Home. So not only do I have a suggestion you subscribe to Life's Undertaking with Brad Jones, which is a great new TMDS production with the funeral director of Ridley Funeral Home, but I have a measuring tape. No joke, man. It's handy to have a measuring tape with you at all times.
There's a lot of times around the house you're trying to just get the size. You're you're right.
You know what Decisive said? He said he's going to use it to measure corpses, I think is what Decisive told me. But you can use this for measuring anything. I won't ask what you're measuring.
All right.
Okay. But thank you, Ridley Funeral Home. There's a Toronto Mic sticker from stickeru.com. That's where you get all your stickers. And brother, I'm curious, do you imbibe? Like, do you partake in the consumption of cannabis?
Some would say yes, looking at my broadcast and hearing them, but no, I can't say that I do.
Well, Canna Cabana was
Maybe
created by, and Mark Weisblatt from 1236 is going to start because he wants to support Canna Cabana. So Canna Cabana was created by and for people who love weed, love to smoke it, buy it, chat about it, and share it with their friends. Sign up for the Cabana Club at cannacabana.com and be first in the know when there's a deal going on. They have absolutely unbeatable prices on cannabis and smoking accessories. So thank you, Canna Cabana. Can we close with a little Donovan Bailey talk? So you mentioned you go way back with Donovan.
Yes.
How did you end up co-hosting the tremendous podcast Running Things with Donovan Bailey? We literally just recorded the 13th episode of this season earlier this morning, and as soon as we wrap here, I'm going to drop that, then I'm going to drop this, so lots of Jason Portuondo to hear. But how did you get that gig?
So originally he had asked about a year or so ago if I was interested in doing this with him, but I just couldn't at the time, having the radio show and busy with my other job, and I just didn't have the time for it. But then now, something's meant to be, it's meant to be. And now all of a sudden, you fast forward a year, things didn't work out, or I'm not sure what happened with his former host.
I don't know. I've been afraid to ask the question.
Yeah,
Except, and someone else was pressing the buttons. It wasn't me, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth here. This is see, all but comes back to horses.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, he asked me again. I said, you know what? I actually do have a little bit more time. And, it's a win-win. Because I get to be with a brother, a friend that, we've been together for so many years, and now the chance to work on a more constant basis, because he was also a guy that I leaned on quite a bit in terms of track analysis when I was on the radio.
I bet.
And he was good to me that way. So I'm just kind of returning the favor. And the way I think of it as a win-win, because now that I'm at Woodbine, it's strictly horse racing. Right. But this podcast gives me a chance to talk other sports.
You can talk hoops, and you can talk track, and you can talk football.
Maple Leafs.
Maple Leafs, sure. I know. Donovan loves talking Leafs.
News, lifestyle, entertainment. Yeah. Well, Leafs, if they don't get past the first round this year, something's wrong.
Well, something's wrong.
And they can't blame Boston because it's almost impossible for them to meet up with the Bruins.
Look, I don't know if you do sports gambling, but I wouldn't put my my shiny loony on the Leafs to escape the first round. I'll tell you right now. And I'm a
It's got to happen eventually.
Does it? It's 2004 was the last time it happened. And
exactly. So the law of averages say it's about damn time.
I have a daughter who's about to turn 18. I actually went to the Jays game with her on Sunday, and she wasn't alive for any. She was not alive for any second round Maple Leaf action. She was literally unborn.
I'm not sure, because I think it's a 2-3 matchup in the Atlantic. I know that's I miss the good old days. I wish they would just open back up the NHL.
8-1, 7-2.
Well, not even that.
And then reseed.
Open it back.
Oh, the whole thing.
116.
Okay, wow.
So you could have.
See, I don't mind the two separate. I don't mind that sort of like baseball, but
I
do think 8 versus 1. To me, like you fight so hard to get. Yeah, I'm with you. Let's do 8-1, and I like reseeding after the first round and then give top bottom.
Well, I remember back in the day when it was 116, you'd have like 2 East teams, 2 West teams, whatever, right? Is this kind of like the Oscars music? Where
only because I know you got to shut up and I got to jout.
Hey, but here, I appreciate it.
Jason, here before the formal goodbyes, let me just tell people you can subscribe to Donovan Bailey Running Things wherever you get your podcasts, including where you're getting this one right now. And I highly recommend it, not just because I'm in the room for the recording every Tuesday morning and these guys have become
You are
buds.
The host with the most.
They mute my mic. So unlike Hebsy on sports where I'm allowed to speak, I'm not allowed to talk on Running Things, which is why it's so damn good, right? But I will say it's a great show. You have great chemistry, and I love your takes on things, and I love Donovan Bailey's spin on the sporting matters and lifestyle matters of the day. It's a great show. People should check it out. Again, a new episode drops every Tuesday morning. And Jason, we've become good friends through the last 13 weeks. And I'm so glad we could get you back for a proper Jason Portuondo deep dive.
Like, share, subscribe, do what you got to do. But yeah, you're right. And once Donovan came to me and said, where are we going to do this show? Who's the man I called?
You did call me.
Man behind the mic.
So much like you and Mike Wilner, I have to thank Peter Gross for that.
Peter Gross is the foundation for so many careers in broadcasting. He is kind of like the northern dancer of broadcasting.
As usual.
I'm not saying he's spreading his seed like that, but
He wishes he could get paid for that.
Yeah.
Jason,
well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Don't leave without your lasagna.
Oh, I won't.
Because that cheese is delicious, man.
Thank you, Palma.
And that brings us to the end of our 1036th show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. You're at jporty, what? jporty? 13. Follow Jason on Twitter. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta is at Palma Pasta. Sticker U is at Sticker U. Ridley Funeral Home is at Ridley FH. And Canna Cabana are at Canna Cabana _. See you all next week.
For me and you, but I'm a much better man for having known you. Oh, you know that's true because everything is coming up rosy and green. Yeah, the wind is cold, but the smell of snow won't be today. And your smile is fine, and it's just like mine, and it won't go away. 'Cause everything is rosy and green. Well, I've been told that there's a sucker born every day, but I wonder who. Yeah, I wonder who. Maybe the one who doesn't realize there's 1,000 shades of gray. 'Cause I know that's true. Yes, I do. I know it's true. Yeah, I know it's true. How about you? Oh, they're picking up trash and they're putting down roads, and they're brokering stocks. The class struggle explodes, and I play this guitar just the best that I can.